good morning. Welcome to Big Talk, college sports with a Midwest perspective, blue collar and blue blood. I am Sam Sprunger, as always, joined by Tony, Tony Hollinsworth. Tony, how are we this fine Friday morning?
Great. Sorry, I don't know if it was this or I don't know if it was my browser, but the intro video didn't play, and it's just dark, and then nothing happened. I'm like, oh no,
It played.
where am I? Oh, well, it did not play for
I
me,
heard
so
it
I was
play.
completely caught off guard. I'm
So
also
we popped up, and I started talking. You're like, "Where's the?"
I know. I'm
intro?
like, I'm not ready. I wasn't ready.
There's no take two.
I know. It's okay.
So a big last couple of days, 3 days, for the CFP playoff bracket. We have a Final Four, Tony. One of us was absolutely correct.
Mm-hmm. You know what the best part is, though? Truly the best part of all of this, though, is that all of the teams that would have technically been out of the 4-team college football playoff have all moved on. None of the top 4 seeds are even in, and and for everybody who says, "Oh, the 12-team system is broken," no, this is why it works. Because again, we'll dive a little bit deeper into this later.
We'll get into that later.
But who we probably think is the best team in the playoffs right now put an absolute thumping on the number 1 seed, and they wouldn't be in if it was a 4-team playoff, and they absolutely deserve to be in because they are rolling right now.
Yeah, well, there's a lot to talk about on that, and there's talk going on about the construct of the bracket and how it goes together now, going forward, even as early as next season, of how it's going to look. But let's talk about the games that got us to the Final Four. Let's start with the Orange Bowl on Thursday, the 6th seed, or not the Orange Bowl. I'm sorry, the Fiesta Bowl. I was already in the Final Four. The Fiesta Bowl, Penn State 6th seeded. They put a hurt into Boise State, and I guess Tony, give your thoughts about this game, because it's I've got some thoughts as well.
I'm going to be honest. Wasn't really surprised. You know, you and I talked about this. Out of all of the teams that came into this playoff, even though they've been on the road now only once, Penn State absolutely had the easiest pathway to the college football semifinals out of all of the teams. Even for Oregon being number 1, Penn State had an easier path to getting there than Oregon did. And for Boise,
take a look at it now.
Right? I know. Even might be even easier for them. They might even make a national title appearance with who they have to go up against. Maybe we'll dive into that later. But it's not really surprising, because when we talked about it and we broke it down, you look at all the talent that Penn State has on paper, they absolutely should have done what they did as far as beating Boise State by 17 points. They did a pretty good job as far as shutting Ashton Jeanty down. He unfortunately came up, I believe it was 28 yards shy of breaking Barry Sanders' record.
I saw 26, but you might be.
Is it 26? It's somewhere in there, give or take a couple yards. But yeah, very close. Second all time as far as rushing yards in a single season goes. Again, I'm not really surprised that this happened. This is a complete and total mismatch. Now, this is one that I would say, looking at Boise State, the fact that they, no offense to them, because we've talked about you can only play who you can play. Boise State goes, and they held their own against everybody except for Oregon and Penn State. Did they necessarily deserve to be the 4 seed in the playoffs? No, they deserve to be in, but they were not the 3 seed. Sorry, I keep the numbers of seeding and whatnot throw me off. Arizona State was the 4 seed. They didn't really deserve to be the 3 seed. I mean, they're good. They deserve to be in 110%, but we could definitely sit here and say they were not the 3rd best team in the college football playoffs as it stands right now. And if that showed anything on New Year's Day, it was that. Or not New Year's Day, New Year's Eve.
Yeah. I made a statement, I believe it was on a post on social media, that I felt that Penn State could single-handedly revoke the whole win the conference, get an automatic bye going on, because we talked about it when they were playing Oregon, is whoever wins the Big Ten championship is going to be the number 1 seed in the tournament.
Yep.
And Penn State's glad they lost because of how Oregon got shafted with their 1 seed path. But my point on that one is Penn State should have still had a bye. I don't care that they haven't beat anybody. I don't care. We've made this very, very apparent, or at least I have. I don't care of the who have you beat. If you have put everything in front of you, or have had everything put in front of you, and you've beaten everybody you should have, and maybe somebody that you shouldn't have. You know, so Penn State goes up against Ohio State. They lose, but had they beat them, we'd be like, oh, look, they're still a really good team. Like, Penn State is a very, I mean, James Franklin gets a bad rap. Big deal. He's doing it at the right time, at least now. But he has had a pretty easy trip through to the semifinals. So, like, I don't care that Penn State hadn't beaten anybody. They should have had a bye. Yeah. They were that good of a team. Just like Ohio State should have had a bye. I don't care that 3 of the 4 teams would have been Big Ten teams getting a bye. I don't care about that.
But that hurts the SEC.
It's the 4 most deserving teams. That's what it is. It's not, well, you won this conference. No, be the best team. Be the best 4 teams to get your bye.
But here's where they start to get frustrated, both to me, and I don't know what you think about it, but to me, the College Football Playoff Committee gets frustrated. I think ESPN gets frustrated, is because they want to always use that argument of strength of schedule. Oh, well, who did you beat? And they always talk about, oh, well, the SEC just kicks the crap out of each other. They're the toughest conference. This is where I would make the argument of, okay, yes, do we want to see the big name matchups like next year? Like, and funny enough, we talked about this. If Ohio State won, it was going to be Ohio State versus Texas. And then what's Ohio State and Texas' very first game next year? Against each other in Columbus in the shoe. And we like seeing it because they're big brands. They're extremely talented teams. But at the same time, if I'm a fan of college football, do I necessarily want to see Ohio State beat up like UConn or UMass or Hawaii and drop 70 on them? No, because I'm not an Ohio State fan. Would I want to see them make a competitive game? Yes. But do I also want to potentially see Ohio State lose 3 or 4 games because they had to go all out to potentially either get this win or come up short in a close loss? And then you tell me, oh, well, I mean, they lost 4 times. They can't be in the playoffs because of that. Like that to me is the issue, is they want to do strength of schedule, but then they also they want you to face tough teams, but they kind of like the cupcakes because it pads your winning stats. Like that's what frustrates me. And I know they make that argument with Penn State. Oh, well, they didn't beat anybody. Like you said, they absolutely rolled SMU, who SMU deserved to be in the playoffs. They absolutely rolled Boise State, and Boise State deserved to be in the playoffs. And completely diminish, oh, well, they didn't deserve to be in because we could get better quality. We don't know that. Alabama got the crap kicked out of them by a bad Michigan team whose only top quality win was against Ohio State.
They beat Ohio State. Well, and I accidentally took a left turn at Happy Valley, and we started talking about the bracket instead of the Penn State game. But right. Penn State, their defense has been menacing all year. It was good against Ohio State. So even in that game that they lost, their defense still came through very strong, was the dominant side of the ball. But the offense is still putting together enough to where, they scored 31 points.
Yep.
They beat the number 3 seed in the tournament by 17.
Yeah.
They now have a combined 69-24 points for and against in the 2 games that they've played. These guys are playing very, very well, and next week's going to be a good one for them. It really is.
Here's my question, and it's a little bit of a side rail. Well, 2 questions.
Shocker. We've never done that before. We've
never done a little bit of a derailing segment, but it should be fairly quick though.
Okay.
The 2 things. First one, do you think now that he's made a deep run into the semifinals and has a very good chance of even making a national title appearance, do you think this silences a lot of the doubt and the haters against James Franklin as far as his head coaching tenure? Now, I know I've brought it up, do we think they potentially move on? And, you keep bringing up the good question of, well, who do you replace him with if you do? Because, both of us, I think, agree there's probably good candidates out there, but none of them with a pedigree or a resume that says this guy is for sure going to get them over the hump if he takes over the program. Do you think this has done enough for James Franklin to say he absolutely deserves to stay at Penn State, and as long as they can get into the playoffs, they could potentially still be a dangerous team?
To me, yes.
Mm-hmm.
To me, yes. I don't know who you're going to replace him with at Penn State. That's going to be better than what he's doing. And now that he's winning into this 12-team tournament, he's making it really hard to say, even the doubters, to say we need to get rid of him. Because bear with me and just play the what-if game.
Right.
He wins 2 more games this season. He's on not the same level, but he's in the same club as Joe Paterno.
Yeah.
Like that's what we're talking about with James Franklin. Like if he pulls, and it's not out of the realm of possibility, Tony, I don't think either.
No, because
they win 2 more games, he's with Paterno in that same club.
Yeah, because they have a very winnable chance against Notre Dame. I think with how their defense is going and with the chemistry that Penn State has, and for the most part, all of Penn State's big players are all healthy and still on the field.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, knock on wood. And Notre Dame is a little bit more on they're kind of limping into this with some of their key players not being 100%. They're still playing, but they're not 100%.
A week and a half or so to, I guess a little less than a week, I guess, isn't it? Well, I don't know.
Yeah, about a week.
A little over a week of total time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So they have a chance. But yeah, if you do that and then you potentially go up against, for a lot of people, the 2 top teams in the country, even when the preseason polls came out, Ohio State, Texas, Oregon, and Georgia were the top 4 teams in the country. And you're going to potentially face one of those 2 coming out of the Cotton Bowl. That is going to say a lot. Now to tie in with the other question, like you said, the offense is doing just enough to keep everything together, to not, cancel out what the defense is doing. Mm-hmm. I heard on the radio yesterday that since Drew Aller will more than likely be returning to Penn State next year, that he might be the best quarterback coming out of the draft next year. And I'm going to be honest, this is where I'm going to have a little bit of a slight against him, because now I can't say he doesn't have quality wins, because he's beaten, some of the top teams in the country, at least as far as the committee and as far as the playoff bracket goes. But he's not playing, I don't want to say pretty football. He's playing just efficient enough, but you look at him and you look at the numbers, and you're like, buddy, you're not exactly the NFL quarterback numbers that I'd be wanting. Not saying you got to go out there and throw 80% of your passes. You don't have to light them up for 300-400 yards.
You should probably throw 100% of your passes, but you're saying complete them, right?
Correct. Yes. But still, like that would be my question. If I'm an NFL GM, I'm like, okay, I need a franchise quarterback. I don't necessarily know if it's Drew Aller, in my opinion.
Luckily, we ain't got to worry about that right now, Tony.
That's true. That's a future problem. But still, I wanted a quick little thought.
Yeah. Drew Aller is going to be, to me, he's going to be that quarterback that's good at the college level but doesn't translate exactly into the pros. And maybe I'm completely 100% wrong. I just see that as being that's what's going to be what Drew Aller is. He might be a CFL, quarterback. I don't know.
The UFL, United Football League, going to be a next AJ McCarron, light up the UFL, be a franchise quarterback for St. Louis Battlehawks, San Antonio Brahmas.
Maybe I don't know, but Yes, James Franklin should still be at Penn State going forward. Honestly, especially if he wins just one more game, he probably should have as long as he wants.
Yeah.
Because, again, who are you going to put in there that's going to do the exact same thing? He's developed a program that is pretty respectable. He gets the knock that he can't win the big game, but guess what? He's got one on the 9th against Notre Dame, and he wins that. He's sitting in Atlanta. His Lions will play for a national championship. That's what he's got to. His team needs to win one more game, and they're playing for the national title. How many people thought Penn State might be in this position?
If you would have asked,
could have happened.
I say, if you would have asked them, when did he get there? 2015, 2014?
15, I think, is what it was.
Yeah.
Let me look.
If you would have asked them about, we'll say 10 to 11 years ago, after the whole Sandusky thing really kind of hurt that program for what we thought would be a long time, and for him to bring them back.
Well, if you remember, Bill O'Brien took over right after Paterno was resigned.
Yeah. So, I mean,
January 11th of 2014. So it was 14.
Yeah. Okay. So it was, 11 years ago. If you would have asked them that 11 years ago, don't know if we would necessarily be having that same conversations. But no, I mean, like I said, I think he's good. The biggest question for a long time is, can you win the big game? Because obviously you struggle in the Big Ten, but maybe that narrative also changes because Ohio State lost to Oregon. Oregon swept the Big Ten, and then Ohio State came out and dominated. Like we said, we'll talk about that here in a little bit. And then, Penn State loses to Ohio State and Oregon. But like you said, look at where they are right now. They're one win away from competing for a national title.
Yeah, and another team that's playing, it's one win away from a national title game, is the Ohio State Buckeyes. They took on the number 1 seeded Oregon Ducks at the Rose Bowl. And Tony, before you could even stop to actually smell the roses, it was 31-0 at the half, or 31-8 at the half.
Yeah, 31-8.
Or was it 34-8 at the half? I forget. There was so many points scored all at once. It may be 34-8, but 34-8. 34. It was 34-0. I thought they're going to hang a 40 burger on these guys in the first half.
Yeah.
Tony, they made us look like geniuses because that's not the same Ohio State team. That's even a step higher than the team that played against Tennessee.
Correct.
They were playing possessed.
They say, and I can give 2 words for you to describe that entire game too. Jeremiah Smith.
Oh, good Lord. You think about what Jackson Smith and Jigba did for himself, 2 years ago in the Rose Bowl
against
Utah, and had 300+ yards receiving. That's the type of game that Jeremiah Smith had, and he's still got 2 more to go potentially.
Yeah. And not only that, he's a 19-year-old freshman. Jackson Smith and Jigba basically did that a year before he went into the NFL, basically.
Yeah, the fact that Ohio State is looking like a completely different team, and let's say it the way they weren't a bad football team during the season.
No,
they only lost 2 games, and Michigan showed that they could beat a top 12 team in the bowl season, by beating Alabama for the second time in 2024.
Right.
But so Michigan's not a pushover loss. It's still a little confusing as to how it happened, but at the same time, would it hurt? They still made the tournament. They didn't have to go play the next week against Oregon and potentially lose in a rematch that would have, it wouldn't have happened a third time yet had they played the week before or in the championship. But still, I don't know that they lose. Like I said last week, I don't think they lost on purpose. I just don't think that they really applied themselves.
Yeah. Well, if you remember, I said it last week. I kind of wonder if throughout some of these games, if Ohio State was like, yeah, we're not going to show you our full deck because it doesn't really matter. We just have to do enough to get in.
Example
Then
being
we'll
the
turn the heat up.
the fake screen that ended up on a 45-yard pass play downfield. They had 4 wides with 1 single out to the right.
Yep.
And they faked a bubble screen and sent one of the guys that would be blocking straight out on a go route. He got 40 yards out of it.
Yeah.
That's not in your regular repertoire.
No.
You're pulling out some stops.
Mm-hmm.
That tells me once we hit the CFP, Ryan Day and Chip Kelly said, all right, let's have some fun now. Because they have all sorts of fun toys in their arsenal,
and
offensively and defensively.
And have you noticed, too, defensively, I feel like Ohio State has played pretty much the exact same defensively as they have all year.
Except for they couldn't sack anybody.
Correct. But I will say offensively, have you noticed Chip Kelly is finally doing what Joel Klatt pointed out, what everybody has pointed out Chip Kelly loves to do with the football? He loves to run it. And look at what, Travion Henderson and Judkins both have been able to do in the playoffs. I mean, Travion Henderson rushed almost 100 yards. He's 6 yards shy, but 8 carries, 94 yards, and 2 touchdowns on top of Will Howard throwing 300 yards and 3 tutties, 2 of them to Jeremiah Smith. That not only, and it's funny because Ohio State has so many injuries on their offensive line, and that offensive line is absolutely dominating the line of scrimmage against Oregon's defense. So this running game is just able to go, free willy everywhere.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were still going.
I thought about it and I was like, I don't really have much more to add to that other than just repeating myself.
That's perfectly fine. You want to know what I am most impressed by in this game? It's the fact that it's 34-0. Oregon scores. They put on an 8, get a 2-point conversion. It's 34-8 at the half.
Yep.
Oregon gets the ball out of the halftime break. They drive down. They score. It's 34-15 now. Yep. It's getting a little less uncomfortable because Oregon's put together 2 consecutive drives. They force Ohio State to punt, and you're like, oh, here it goes.
Right.
If they make this 34-22, this is a game.
It's a ball game, yeah.
And Ohio State's defense shut them down, forced punts, and then all of a sudden it was back and forth, and they ended up, after that it didn't feel like they quelled that and just kept stonewalling them and wouldn't let them into the end zone anymore. That to me is more impressive than the 34 points in the first half almost.
Yeah. I felt like the 34-point, I feel like this is where they did mimic their Tennessee game because they came out fast and like we talked about, they punched him in the mouth and they said, look, we're going to hit you so hard and we're going to hit you 3 or 4 times to where you're not going to get up for a hot minute. And then Oregon says, okay, well, we need to do something. And then after that, Ohio State to me just went into, we just got to do damage control. They can move down the field. That's fine. They can score a couple tutties. No big deal. We are not going to hurt ourselves because somebody I made a TikTok video that had over 30,000 views last time I looked at it. Really similar to the one I did for Ohio State and Tennessee. Somebody brought up the only team he thinks that can beat Ohio State right now is Ohio State itself. And I feel like to them, they have definitely looked in the mirror and they said, we are going to do everything that we have to do to put ourselves in the position to win. And we're going to do everything that we have to do to not shoot ourselves in the foot and not let the other team even come close to sniffing what they think could be a momentum swing and a comeback.
I 100% agree with that comment because I think the only team that can beat Ohio State is themselves because they've... Again, and I said this about Tennessee, not one person in this world in their right mind that knows anything about college football said Oregon shouldn't have been in the tournament, and they got their doors blown off.
I know. Can we make that little quick snide comment in there since all the teams who were on byes not only went 0 for 4, but all of them lost by what was that?
By
Double
8
digits.
No. Arizona State only lost by 8. They were in overtime.
Oh, never mind.
39-31.
But still, but still.
But that's the closest game we've had in all of the 8 games.
Mm-hmm. And in all honesty, kind of like we talked about when we first broke down, what happened with Texas versus Georgia, Texas getting cocky. Texas started to do it again, because if they hadn't, that would have also been a blowout had they decided to put their foot on the gas pedal, and had Cam Scatabo decided, I'm the boulder and I'm just going to run through this thing that is called Texas's defense.
That was a good game. I didn't get to watch it. I was actually in East Lansing for the
at the Breslin Center,
Michigan State, for Purdue Michigan State women's game at the Breslin Center. But I was watching it on my phone, and I tell you what, and then I was listening on the radio on my when I was driving with Cam Scatabo.
Mm-hmm.
Shoosh. I mean, they've been talking about him all year. Don't get me wrong, but
yeah.
Shoosh.
Mm-hmm. It's funny.
I'll be darned.
I saw a video they did an interview with his mom about his past football life. Apparently, he would put on his brother's football pads, and then he would run into telephone poles as hard as he could. And she said apparently all he did was he just translated that over into an actual live sport game. She goes, honestly, I felt bad whenever he would get on the field with those football pads, because all the pain he inflicted on his body, he's about to inflict on other people.
He's going to hit that person as hard as he hit that telephone pole.
Yes, he is.
This time the person's going to move. It's not going to, hurt him. Yeah. First time in the history of the Fiesta Bowl they've given the offensive MVP to a losing team.
I know. Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. Well deserved. Or not the Fiesta Bowl. Sorry. Peach Bowl.
Peach Bowl,
Golly, I keep looking at the wrong. Peach Bowl. First time in the Peach Bowl history that the offensive MVP goes to the losing team. I also heard that there were a lot of empty seats in Atlanta, Georgia for Texas, Arizona State.
Yes.
Tickets were going for $13. I am a firm believer that these second round games should be the ones that are the on campus games.
Hey, we talked about it. To me, I think the first 2 rounds should be able to be hosted in home games, and then
why not have the first round be the Reliance Bowl or whatever? These other lower rungs, or shoot, what is it? Or have there is a way to do this to where you could have the bye teams get a home game, and you know what? That's even more incentive to get that bye.
Mm-hmm. Or
take out the conference champion and just give the best teams buys, and you get to host your first round game.
I say, or all honesty, you could even do, so say they wanted to still do like the Peach Bowl, that they wanted to do it in a big stadium, and let's say they wanted
Bowl at the Horseshoe.
Say they could do it at the Horseshoe. They could do it at the Horseshoe, or if you wanted to say give the team, if they wanted to still do the bye thing. So let's say for Arizona State, why didn't you hold the Peach Bowl in in Arizona at where they had Penn State versus Boise State? It's right there in their state. They would have had a ton of Arizona State fans, and Texas would have traveled there.
Yeah, how is it Arizona State didn't go to the Fiesta Bowl
in their own state, right down the road?
Because they were the 4 seed, so they didn't get the advantage of getting first priority, I guess.
Apparently.
Anyways, but go ahead.
Oh, and fun fact, Texas is now the only team in college football history to have won at least one of all the major bowl games, like the big ones, not the, Alamo Bowl or like the Military Bowl, but like
the Alamo Bowl.
Well, yes, but like the Peach Bowl, the Citrus Bowl, the Sugar Bowl, they are the first team in college football history to win at least one of them with their win in the Peach Bowl. They had never won the Peach Bowl before. Fun fact.
That is kind of fun. My question is how fun would it have been if Oregon would have won in the Rose Bowl and had to travel to the Cotton Bowl to take on number 5 Texas?
Ooh, about as fun as Ohio State having to do it.
But at least they're the lower seed.
Right.
Sorry, it just.
It would have been like it would have been like Washington versus Texas last year when it was in New Orleans. I think it was all but a home game for Texas, and they still lost.
Yeah. But I was gonna say something. I forgot what it was. Well, it must not have been too important there, Tony.
Right.
I tell you, those let's shift to this whole tournament thing. We've already started talking a little bit about it. The first four are on location.
Mm-hmm.
Then we go to bowls.
Mm-hmm.
I don't hear anybody at all saying anything about that setup. Like, there's nobody complaining that the first four are on campuses and then they go to bowls.
Mm-hmm.
So let's take that out of it. What is your utmost one and first and foremost? This needs changed for the next rendition of this CFP 12-team tournament.
To me, I think the seeding, you have to reseed. I think if they want to copy the NFL, which is essentially what they're doing as far as with the seeding and whatnot, then if you're the number one team like Oregon, you need to be able to reseed and reshuffle who's the lowest team after that, and then basically you go from there. So one would face whoever is the winner out of what would that be, like 8 through 12 for the last four teams. So whoever wins out of that, that's the lowest seed is who Oregon faces, and then whoever the number two is faces, the next lowest one, and so on and so forth. The other thing to me,
in fairness, with that happening, they would have played Ohio State.
That's true. So, I mean, it ended up working out overall. But then you wouldn't have to worry about, actually, let me rethink this before I sound like a goober.
You want me to jump in with my opinion here on what needs to be? So
funny enough, yeah, that's exactly how this ended up. Yeah, that is funny. Yeah, looking at the matchups, that's actually how it all ended up. Funny enough, but
I'll jump in here so you can recollect real quick. My biggest thing is you either reseed every single thing, and yes, that would have worked out that way because every home team won.
Yes,
that hosted a playoff game, so that means the higher seed won and went into the. So the highest seed remaining, the 8-9, I mean, the home team won, so they're the highest team. Since the 7 and the 6 were the other, and the 5 were the other 3 that played, and won. Yeah. So they just are coincidentally the ones that won the next round too. But I think they need to get rid of the automatic bye. That's the big thing. I picked on Arizona State before.
Mm-hmm.
I picked on Arizona State before when we were talking about this during our CFP special. Same with Boise State. I didn't knowing that they automatically got buys. I was okay with Boise State being the 3 over Arizona State being the 4.
Yeah. But
I also don't think that Boise State nor Arizona State should have been in the bye round.
No.
Georgia, Oregon, I'm okay with that. Those were 1 and 2. I get that.
Yeah.
But literally Penn State, maybe even maybe Texas, I guess, maybe even though they lost in the AC, it doesn't, or in the SEC championship, it doesn't matter to me.
Mm-hmm.
It could have been two Big Ten and 2 SEC teams that got the auto. Those were the 4 best teams. I would have even went out on a limb and said that Ohio State was one of the top 4 teams, but that would be harder to sell than 2 SEC, 2 Big Ten, just because they were overall the best 4 teams. Don't give it just because, well, you're part of the Big 12 and you get to win. I loved Arizona State. Kenny Dillingham is one of my favorite coaches.
Mm-hmm. And they were a great Cinderella story.
They shouldn't have had a bye.
No. And I will say, I was going to say, get rid of the conference champion automatic bid thing too, because what,
the auto bid's fine.
Well, here's what I think is going to happen.
Tournament.
Yeah, but here's what I think is going to happen is you're going to have somebody. It's like, yeah, they won the conference, but do they really deserve to be in? And
nope. We need to stop that right now.
I guarantee it's going to happen.
So tired of do they deserve to be in? They win their games. Yes, wins count. I don't care. I don't care, Tony.
Here's what I see happening. Okay, and this is why I even say it, because I know where you're going with it, and believe me, I agree with you, because we've been on this like the entire time ever since it came out, because they continuously cry about it. Is look at last year when you had 5 teams that you could have argued maybe they deserve to be in, and one got left out. I guarantee if they do that with the whole conference championship thing, one of those is going to happen. Somebody's going to get left out.
Win your conference. If you have any doubt, I think it's just like the NCAA basketball tournament. Mm-hmm. Your conference champion gets an automatic bid. Mm-hmm. There's 4 power conferences. 4 automatic bids out of 12 is only a third of all the teams, and it represents and in the group of 5, whatever. I don't, however that wants to go. So 5 out of 12 are guaranteed. That doesn't mean, oh, hey, since you won the Big 12 and it was a down year for the Big 12 and you lost 4 games, or, oh, hey, you beat a good team in the ACC championship and you've got 3 losses. Mm-hmm. Clemson didn't get one of those buys. So right. Why? That's fine. Mm-hmm. Put Boise State. Yes, did they deserve to be there? Absolutely. Make them a 7 seed to where they play week 1. Did SMU belong to me? Yes. Make them an 11 seed that plays a legit 6 seed.
Right.
I think the way I saw it was, what was it? It was, if they reseeded the way according to rankings, it would have been IU and Boise State playing or SMU. So like it would have paired up differently to where Oregon would have played IU yesterday rather than or a couple days ago rather than Ohio State. That's a little bit more fair of a matchup for a team that supposedly was the best team in the country. And I don't disagree that they were number 1.
Yeah. And I'm gonna be honest too, and I don't know how it will work schedule wise. I personally think they should get rid of the buys. And I say that because even from an NFL standpoint, most of the teams, if you're the 1 seed and you're on a bye, whoever that team is coming in on the road just played a game and has the momentum. They didn't get out of rhythm. They don't have to worry about knocking off ring rust. They don't have to worry about, okay, who are we facing? They already know, okay, if we win this game, this is who we're facing. The other team, they're like, oh who wins this? Because whoever wins, then we have to start studying them. So they're later in the game as far as who they have to study, who they have to try to match up as far as assignments and whatnot. What do they have to go up against? If you're a team on the road, hey, we already know who we have to face next if we win. We can already get a head start on it. We can get a head start at the minute we finish this game. We can go back in the locker room, get on the plane, and we can start studying.
We can already say right now, from one tournament, that the buys are not necessarily advantageous.
No, it's
seeing that every single bye team lost.
Brady Quinn brought it up on a point yesterday that I thought was really good. A bye week is great if you're one player trying to come back from an injury.
Yep.
Not for an entire team, because you get knocked out of your rhythm.
Yep. You lose your rhythm. You gather some rust.
Mm-hmm.
You know, those bye teams had 8 to 10 days longer off than the teams that played in the first round.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Yeah, because what? Oregon, Georgia, they hadn't played since what? The second week in December?
First
Saturday
of December.
Heck, they've had almost a month.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm saying is you're going to have teams that are, I don't want the bye. We don't want the bye.
Yeah.
In all honesty, out of the bye.
In all honesty,
6th seed.
And if I was them, I would look at Ohio State. I would look at Notre Dame. Like, I would look at all these teams. I mean, because like you said, like we've talked about, they have a rhythm. They're like, okay, we already know who we have to face if we win. It's another day. We can keep on chugging, keep on rolling. System, everything goes as if it does normally. You get that bye week, like we talked about. You know, they hadn't played since the beginning of December. How complacent, or how many times like, nah, man, you can take a break. Like, nah, we got time. We can clean this up. We can fix it. That builds complacency, and then you get your teeth kicked in by 3 scores.
Yeah, I don't I think in 17 days it very conceivably could be, how did Ryan Day pull this off?
Oh, 100%.
Because they're going to look at him and say, you literally were a couple of days. You were a bad outing against Tennessee to getting fired.
And I still think that's a possibility.
I don't, because he's in the Final Four. He gets to the finals. There's no way.
Hey, you remember I told you if he made a deep playoff run, they weren't going to fire him because you remember I told you, man, if he can make it to at least the semifinals, maybe even a national championship, it saves his job. But I guarantee, coming into next season, that seat's still going to be toasty warm.
See, I think he wins the national championship, and he's going to say, look, you've got to trust me. Don't worry about what we do during the regular season, because now it's a different game. See, people complained about it taking the validity of this 12-team CFP away from the validity to the regular season. For some programs, that's going to be accurate. For Michigan, for Ohio State, for all these big blue bloods, and I use like Oregon, I use the Big Ten ones, but you know who they are in other conferences too, that they can lose a couple of games and still be a very strong Look at Alabama. They were talking about trying to shove them in somehow into this tournament with 3 losses as a non-conference winning team with 3 losses. But my point being on this is I honestly, I don't remember.
Well, I will say that is kind of the beauty of the 12 team, format. And that's part of why they created it, because like you said, look at Ohio State. They have 2 losses. If this was still the 4-team playoff, they would be completely out of it. Same with look at Penn State. Penn State wouldn't be in it. And this gives the chance, like you said, you can still be a strong team. You can still make a couple mistakes, and it's no big deal. You can still come in. You may have to go on the road. You may have to play more games than what you necessarily may want to. But you can still have a very good and very successful season, and even make a deep playoff run without having to, man, if you lose one game, I don't know, you may or may not make it. Just depends on who you lose to.
Well, that's kind of where I was headed, and I kind of remember now. But the fact that they were relatively sure they were going to the tournament. So, okay, what are our big games? Okay, we'll play. You didn't see any trick plays. You didn't see any specialty formations against Oregon. You didn't see those against really anybody. That's the first time I've seen 4 wide with 1 solo. They've done trips plenty, but that 4th one out there, that's a different look you're not ready to see. That's why I think somebody said, well, Chip Kelly finally figured it out. I think he had it figured out in August. I think he's been toying with everybody every week.
I think, to me, it's a long-term planning game, because you have to, what did everybody say, you and I included? Who did we have originally in the Big Ten championship?
Oh, it was
Ohio State versus Oregon. So if I'm Ohio State, and honestly, even if I'm Oregon, and Oregon may not have, because they probably, coming into a new conference, we need to try to give it our all, because this is going to be a tough gauntlet as far as who to run through.
They had one thought in their mind that they were going to get screwed over on their path to in the tournament either.
Right. But if you're Ohio State, you're like, okay, look at all the teams that we have. Who are the 2 big teams that we have to worry about, that we have to face? We have to worry about Oregon. We have to worry about Penn State.
I'm not saying that, and Michigan. I mean, you've got to worry about your rival game.
True.
Always.
But who are they most going to have to worry about for facing the Big Ten? Who are they going to more than likely have to face again sometime in the season? And if I'm Ohio State, no, I'm not showing you all the tricks early on. Now, I'm still going to try to win the game. Don't get it twisted.
That's what I was going to say, is don't take that as me saying, well, Ohio State was trying to lose. No, they were trying to win. They want to win their games. But you know what? We're only going to have these plays, through these plays. That's our playbook. And if we don't win inside this playbook, it's fine. Because you know what? Come the tournament, we're going to blow everybody's doors away. Because
what's that old?
We have 6 Miatas compared to everybody else's Volkswagens.
Say what's that old poker adage? You never give away your full hand. What you have up your sleeve.
Yeah.
You give them just a little bit to run with.
Know when to fold them.
And you gotta sucker them in. You gotta draw them in a little bit, and full house.
Yeah, exactly. So I think and I am not in the very least an Ohio State fan, and I think they rope-a-doped everybody all season.
I think so too. I think, in all honesty, we won't go full into it, obviously, but I'm going to say this, like I said against Oregon. I think if Ohio State comes out against Texas, and especially because of how cocky Texas gets, if Texas is able to get the slightest little bit of an edge at first, Ohio State's going to say, okay, hold my beer. We're going to fix this, and we're going to go compete for a national title. Hold my beer.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. We're not going to preview the games tonight or today. I always say tonight whenever I'm on the air, but we're not gonna do the previews this week of these two games because both games possess a Big Ten team, which means the finals could be an all Big Ten final or it could be a no Big Ten final. It's just however the games play out.
Honestly, hey, one of those teams is a future Big Ten team, so it could be 3 out of 4.
3 out of 4 ain't bad. I'm still hell bent that that Notre Dame will be in the Big Ten at one point.
I think so.
In the next 2 to 3 years, I think it's just a matter of all this shaking out, and I think Notre Dame, at some point, they're gonna see that the money's always greener on the other side of the fence.
Well, like we said, I think there would potentially be room for them to be able to double dip as far as getting money from the Big Ten, Fox, so CBS, and add to their NBC money that they're already getting on top of it.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, well, that kind of wraps up what we've got with this week's Big Talk. Tony, I'm going to have you go ahead and tell everybody this bottom part is changing a little bit, but it's not 100%. So once you get to the top done and you describe the bottom, we'll do the adjustments later.
Okay. I don't have it up for me yet. It's not loading for me.
It's not loading for you. You don't know it by heart?
I do. Okay. You can always find us on Facebook at B1G Talk. That is Big Talk with a 1 instead of an I. You can also find us on Instagram X, aka formerly known as Twitter. You can also find us on the TikToks. At B1G_talk. That's Big Talk with a 1 instead of an I with a little underscore in talk. And then since Sam can see it and I can't, I'm going to let him read the bottom part.
Well, we are on the ASAP network every week. There's going to be a little change to that. It's going to be every week, but we're going to change that just a little bit, so I'm not going to go the full way. And then later that day, through the Lounge Media Group, Lounge Sports Network, the audio version of the podcast is available. Tony, we are adding a new network to the Big Talk name.
Can you believe it?
That's weird. And yeah, can you believe it? We are adding, we are going to become part of, or we're joining the BLEAV network. It is a network of podcasts on the BLEAV network. It's spelled BLEAV, BLEAV. Makes sense, right? But BLEAV, we are also changing our format of our show, and we will be doing 20 to 25 minute shows each week now. So we're going to break it up into 3, and Monday, Wednesday, Friday is the plan for those shows. So even next week, we won't have the Cotton Bowl winner in hand. So we will have the Orange Bowl in hand for Friday's game, or Friday's show. So we've got to time it out right to where we record our episodes after games, but that will be a fun one to watch, Penn State, Notre Dame. But we'll be able to preview both of these next week during either our Monday or Wednesday episode, depending on who it is. I guess we should probably go in order, right? Do Penn State, Notre Dame on Monday, and Texas, Ohio State on Wednesday, and then talk reaction maybe to, I don't know.
We could probably do both. I would say
to the Orange Bowl.
No, knowing us, we could honestly do one whole episode on just one game each.
Oh,
and
sure.
Then we could do
and
a
that's
recap
probably
on
what's
Friday.
going to happen. That's probably what's going to happen. But so we are joining the BLEAV network, or actually, we're adding the BLEAV network to our stable of being able to distribute out to, since we have the Lounge Sports Group or Lounge Sports Network and ASAP, the All Sports All Plays network that we will still show our show every day. Every time we're on, we will have it streaming on the ASAP network.
So is it like Soviet Union? We don't join BLEAV, BLEAV join us?
Well, we're adding the name to our show, and we are joining, but they are also joining us. So it's a
Correct.
it's a
mutual
joint. A mutual joining of our shows and network. So really excited to be able to jump into the BLEAV neighborhood, and also still be able to have great content that we put out. The one thing that I think will change is if you're watching us on video on Spotify, I do believe that will cease to happen.
Yeah.
Because I do believe you have to be going through the Spotify for creators to have your video show on Spotify. So we will be available anywhere else. Video podcasts will be available, but I do believe Spotify will no longer be available. So you'll have to find us somewhere else. I don't know where.
We'll figure that out. That's minor details we can iron out.
Yep, we'll iron those details out. But that brings us to the end of today's show. Tony, a great week, past couple of days of football. Yeah, they were blowouts, minus the Peach Bowl there where Texas won in double overtime. They were blowouts, but it's still playoff football. That's still, there's still high stakes. And then when somebody blows somebody out, you're like, no way.
Mm-hmm. And here's what's funny: all the people that say, "Oh, this is ruining college football." No, it's not. Because guess what? You still watched it. You still watched all of it happen.
Different program now.
Mm-hmm. And like we talked about last week, and like you just said, blowouts happen all the time, even in the playoffs. Doesn't mean either team didn't deserve to be there.
Yep,
it just happens. That is what it is,
and that's at all levels too. So,
yes.
Like back in 1986, when the Bears played the Patriots in the Super Bowl,
yep,
there wasn't any doubt that the Bears were going to win. They won by 36. Nobody said, "Well, the Patriots didn't belong there."
Look at Peyton Manning's second to last Super Bowl. He faced the Seahawks. The Seahawks won like 48-8.
Yeah,
you gotta tell me the Broncos didn't deserve to be there after he set the season record of 55 touchdowns in a single season.
So it's definitely, it's definitely something. I don't think the committee made a mistake with any of the 12 teams they put in this tournament.
No,
I think they were bound by some rules that kept them from putting together the best possible bracket.
Yeah, but we have to at least give them credit where they already started looking after all of this has taken place, and they're still deliberating, to this current day, Friday morning, on what can we do to make this better as far as getting the best quality product and best quality college football games we can put out there. Mm-hmm. So have to give them credit where credit is due. They at least are listening. They recognize quote unquote mistakes. I would call it more their fine tuning, because again, everybody said at the beginning of the season, it's 12-team format system. It's brand new. It's never been done before. There's going to be some kinks. They got to work it out. And that's what they're doing to try to fix, all the mistakes. Because we saw it, all the mistakes the last few years with the 4-team. Now we're going to see it with the 12-team for a couple years, and then it'll probably be fine-tuned. And then something else will happen, and we'll want to fix that too.
And then they'll expand it to 32, and then we're just in a big hole. But anyways.
Do it like college basketball. Do 64
right, that's
teams.
it for today, Tony. That's it.
Come on, Purdue versus a 16th seed. Purdue versus a 16th seed.
Purdue would never be a 1 seed in football.
Hey, maybe they're the 16th seed. Maybe they can reverse it.
Only if they're playing Ohio State. But that brings us to the end of this week's show here on Big Talk College Sports with a Midwest Perspective. Blue Collar and Blue Blood. For Tony Hollinsworth, I am Sam Sprunger. We will see you next time.